Hello everyone, welcome to the next segment of 46 on 41. Today I have with me Lisa Oberski, that's how she told me to pronounce it, from the Chaska History Center. So we're going to go out and do a little tour, and we might even see a little historic tour that ties to Lisa as we go on our travels. So let's hop in, Lisa, and let's go.
Okay.
All right, Lisa, so let's talk a little bit. Now, help me understand how you got involved with the Chaska History Center. You know, I've been around and I know Tracy had a big part in the History Center, and I know about creating a History Center. So how did you become that person that is now the head of the History Center? Give us a little background about yourself, if you would.
Well, Mark, it's kind of interesting, actually. Even though I was not born and raised in Chaska, I do have a very strong family connection to Chaska.
Oh, really? So help me on that. What's that? What would that be?
Well, way back, to give you a little bit of background, my grandmother was very into family tree research, and she passed that love on to me. And,
well, you got to have that passion for it, or it won't work.
Absolutely, and it was kind of neat, actually. The one branch of that side of the family that we didn't know much about was my grandpa's family, and it turns out that he is the grandson of a Chaskan named Conrad Fink.
Finks, yeah, Finks are a common name around here.
Yep. So Conrad and Wilhelmina Fink had about a dozen kids, and about half of them moved to Eden Valley, which is where I grew up.
Eden Valley, Watkins area?
Yes,
okay.
That's it. Anyway, and so then when we moved here back in 1998, I knew that I had that branch from Chaska, but I didn't realize where that branch really fit in. So I started digging, and the first place that you dig when you're looking for family tree information, when you don't know many people in the community, is you check out the Chaska Historical Society.
Yeah, exactly.
And so way back before 2000, at the Chaska Historical Society, I found information that I had never heard before about my great-great-grandparents. And with that information, I also managed to meet some of the longtime Historical Society people and was able to make some connections with them. Oh, here's the house right here, actually.
Oh, that's the Young House.
It's the Young House, but it's also the Fink House.
See, I know it as the Young House.
Right. So this is
look
the house.
Oh, such a beautiful house.
This is the house that Conrad and Wilhelmina built on their farmland. Their farm extended to the south and west of this area.
So you can kind of tell there, I'm cutting kind of Lisa off there, you can tell we took a little detour on purpose there to go by. Lisa happens to live in one of the historic houses in Chaska. So continue on with your story. I'm sorry I interrupted you there.
Oh, no, that's okay. Our house was built by Conrad and Wilhelmina Fink, who are my great-great-grandparents, and it was the farmhouse for the farm that ran to the south and to the southwest. The lake between Chaska and Carver, in fact, for a long time was called Fink Lake.
Fink's Lake, yes.
Yeah, and
that's
the reason is because it was Conrad and Wilhelmina Fink lived around about 3/4
Because that's
of it.
kind of actually the lake behind the ballpark.
Yes.
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 Okay.
So if you walk between the ballpark and Carver on that trail, bike trail,
Yep.
it's a great opportunity to see Fink Lake, or what is I think called Chaska Lake now. If I remember correctly.
I know that I think it carries kind of both names.
Yeah.
But I do remember it. You know, I'm still not a full Chaskanite, but I've been here for a little while. I do remember the Finks Lake name for quite a while. So
Yeah, so it was in the Fink family. That house was in the Fink family for about 60 years. And then it was sold to the Horace Young family. And so most people will, well, most longtime
Yep.
Chaskans refer to the house as the Young house.
yep.
And then a descendant of the Young family, the Carrolls, sold the house to us in 2006. And so it came back to the Fink family. So it is, you know, it was built in 1883, and since then it's only been in basically 2 families.
Well, that's pretty cool. That it's gone back to your same family after all of those years.
Yeah, it was kind of unexpected, but it was at the time the only house in Chaska, even though, you know, we were living in a house up in Liberty Heights, and it was a perfectly wonderful house, but that was the only house in Chaska that I was willing to sell our house up there and move to.
Well, I bet, especially with that history behind her. Well, that's pretty
Yes.
cool.
Anyway, so getting back to where we were talking
Yeah,
about how
we get sidetracked pretty easy. It's pretty easy. And before you start, I just want to say, so we're driving around town. We took a little bit of a detour of what we normally do. But we're still driving around downtown. We can get all around downtown. The businesses are open. There's this misconception to some people that think that all of downtown is closed and nobody can get anywhere. Honestly, it's easier to drive now than it is sometimes before with the truck. I hope with the new road it'll be very simple. But I just want people to know that everything is open, businesses are open. Come on down, have some dinner, take a walk, bring your kids down, look at all the construction. There's a lot of different avenues you can do. So, all right, go back.
Well, and you can stop at the History Center.
And you can stop.
And it's a free trip to the History Center. There's no charge to come in and check out the exhibit. And we have this fabulous exhibit that we can probably talk about a little later.
Okay.
But we have this fabulous exhibit on health and wellness in Chaska. Anyway,
Well, we're all into that right now. So,
yeah.
for people that might not know this, can you talk a little bit about the Chaska history books that we're producing? And it's kind of probably fresh in your mind as book number 3 is starting to come closer and closer to press. But can you tell people a little bit about the books of the history?
Sure. We have for sale at the History Center. We have basically, well, we will have 4 books available. Right now we have the original 2 Chaska history books by Levon Barrick were republished in 2019 as one combined book with an index. And that index is so important, believe me. Anyway, so we have those books still available. And then we have let's see, in 2012, we reprinted a collection of historic newspaper columns that were done by, we've got somebody in front of us.
Yeah, we got a trucker trying to get around.
Anyway, a number of newspaper columns that were done by Jim Faber back in the 90s.
Jim, yep.
And so we compiled those and printed those as a book. And then also in 2014, there was a wonderful little picture book put together, which is basically, well, it's called Chaska Alphabet, and it takes you through the history of Chaska from bakeries that we happen to be going right by to Athletic Park to, oh my gosh, it's kind of like what I say is the quick and dirty on Chaska history. And it's just a nice thin volume with lots of pictures that give you a sense of what Chaska's history is all about. But the biggest project that we've been working on now for about the last 6 years is the 1950 to 2000 Chaska history book. And it's funny that you referred to it as volume 3. It's actually volume 2 because those first 2 are combined as one now.
I didn't realize that. I just know I got them both at home. I just thought, so interesting. Well, I always get corrected.
Well, anyway, and it's not a big deal. It's just in case people are wondering, well, wait a minute, where did volume 2 go? Because whatever, it's because of that reprint that we say that.
So,
But,
Tracy Swanson had such a big part of this History Center. Is it kind of hard following up? Is she always there for you to help you and to do things? Because I know, it's just not as easy to get around, and she'll tell me that. So I just wondered if she is so knowledgeable, and the information she has is, I'm so glad that we're capturing all of that knowledge. We sometimes always talk about that, and then something unexpected happens and we don't get that opportunity to capture that. So I'm really happy that at this point we're capturing that. So,
and yes, Tracy has been involved all along. She is the content editor, so she reads what has been written and determines whether or not it is complete, whether or not there are things missing, or if there's too much verbiage on a particular topic, all that sort of thing. She kind of keeps things in perspective as far as balanced for the history of the entire community during that time.
Well, that's awesome that she continues. So
absolutely.
We're back at the History Center, so we're going to go in and we're going to get a tour of the History Center. And I know there's a couple exhibits that we'll maybe I'll learn something again, but we'll try that. So let's go inside, Lisa, and take a look at how things work.
Sounds good. Well, welcome to the Chaska Historical Society's History Center. As you can see, we have a big display set up here, and the big theme mark of this display is health. Health. Will you live to be 100? That is the question. And so as part of this, we're doing a very interactive exhibit. And for part of this, what you would need to do is you would take a card.
So pick a card, pick any card.
Yes.
All right, so I got a card.
Okay, what does it say on that side?
It says, choose a card from the bowl. Imagine that you are living in the time of the person described on the other side of the card. As you go through the exhibit, compare your circumstances to those presented. How did you do? Would you have lived to 100? So it says, I was born in 1943. I'm 8 years old and I'm a male.
Okay.
So
Why don't you go ahead and see what you might have caught? Yep.
Oh, it is. Looks like a state fair.
Yes, this is the handiwork of my wonderful husband.
He made that?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then our wonderful layout person, we've got a volunteer who did the design for the inside paper or whatever.
I'm not liking any of these.
Well,
Oh.
Okay.
So it looks like I got cholera.
Yes.
What does, outbreaks up until the early 20th century killed 10 to 20% of the population affected. Modern water, sewage treatment, vaccine is available. Well, I'm going to live.
You're going to live through that one, yeah, because you were born in 43, according to that card.
Yes.
Well, consider yourself lucky.
There we go. In reality, I'm getting there. So what else do you have on display here? I'm going to kind of turn this over to you and let it go.
Well, over here we have information about a lot of the healthcare practitioners here in Chaska.
Dr. Amra, I remember Dr. Amra.
And so these are different pioneers for different sakes. We're not just saying that they're pioneers from 1850. We're saying they're pioneers because they were the first women, because they were the first immigrants, because they were the first various reasons. And what you have is this is a spinner wall. So you can look at the picture of the person and read up on them on the other side. And it's meant to be touched. So yes, you spin the frames to learn more. This particular section talks about how doctors and dentists and other leaders of the community, of the health community, really did a lot more than just be a doctor, as if that wasn't enough. They were very involved in their communities. They did a lot to build the community and to make Chaska what it is today.
I think Dr. Schimmelfinnig, most people can't even say his name.
Yes.
He probably delivered anybody born in the 50s and 60s. He probably delivered those babies.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Everybody goes, yeah, Dr. Schimmelfinnig, Dr. Schimmelfinnig, Dr. Schimmelfinnig.
And actually, we do have the scale that weighed all those babies over there, which we will probably get to.
Okay.
So. And then these two cases are covering things like tools of the trade. So things that people would have used over time to work on your teeth, if that doesn't make your skin crawl, and other tools that they would have used, local doctors would have used as part of their practice.
Dr. Ziegler was a very prominent dentist, taught at the University of Minnesota.
Yes.
He was also a mayor. I'm trying to remember his term. When was his term as mayor? I don't even think they're listed. Mayor, 68 to 74. He had some not only was he a great dentist, but he really helped shape Chaska, because that was in the Jonathan era.
Absolutely.
As Jonathan came, we're going to build a town within a town. That was crazy. Whoever thought of that? So he had to help lead that. But that, even though it never got to the point that they wanted to be there, what that did is it created a lot of infrastructure in the north side. That created our industrial parks and got a lot of things that helped us get off the ground and really moving forward as becoming a city. So he did a lot of work.
For someone who says, I'm not that new to this, or I'm pretty new to this place too, you know a lot of history. That's wonderful.
So, I just know a few things.
This section down here and up here are basically areas that talk about the dangers that existed over time. Both in transportation, modes of transportation, and also in industry. And
and anybody that knows anything, the brick industry was huge in Chaska. That's what really drove us, I think, in the early 1900s, I believe.
1957 was the first. 1857, not what I say, what I mean. Yeah. 1857 was the first brickyard.
I'm sure that there was a lot of risky business in that.
Yes, and this will tell some of the stories of things that happened to people because they did not have the safety precautions and such put in place.
Yeah, no OSHA was around at that point.
Correct. Then if we go over here, we can find out what sort of treatments you were given. And what I think is really kind of scary is that immunization injection needle down there. It's got a foot pump. And it would be one person right after another, same needle.
I think we got those in school.
That could very well
when they were vaccinating you at school.
Yep.
I remember that, and that almost looks familiar. That's scary. We were wondering how they just did that, because they ran you through like a machine.
Yes.
I'll bet you that's why.
Yes, and there was, like I said, there's a foot pedal that would allow it to be an injection. A quick injection technique.
Wow.
So, this is another one of the interactive pieces where you can ask the question. And so it's 1883. Your tooth has been painful for weeks and your face looks swollen. Why are you going to the general store? And it talks about why you would have gone there, what you would have been able to find, and so on. So again, very interactive, meant to be touched, hands-on, like the spinner wheel as well. We want to, encourage you to bring your kids because it's things that they don't necessarily think about. I have to mention Magdalene Lubansky because Magdalena was very much a pioneer women's health professional. She received her her midwifery degree in 1890, and for about 50 years she would have delivered about half the babies in Chaska.
Oh wow!
And that is the pitcher and bowl that she would have brought with her.
So that I assume is related to Jerry Lebonsky, who's
That is
also
his grandmother.
Oh, that's his grandmother.
Yes.
Okay, because Jerry is a big part of the History Center as well. I know
Absolutely.
that he puts a lot. I think he still puts a lot of time in here, and he's another guy that's got a wealth of knowledge.
Oh
You
my
just got to
gosh.
figure out how to tap it.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah, he's
he
got
is
a lot of-
amazing.
A lot of knowledge. So.
He is also a content editor for various
Oh,
parts of
sure.
the book.
That would make
Because
sense.
He just knows
Yep.
so much. And then this particular case talks about the various drugstores and such that were available over time. And so there may be some familiar names in here.
I
And so,
have one.
do not touch.
I have one of those little boxes.
Oh, do you?
I don't know where it came from. I got to refine it. I should just bring it here because it's so good to me. But it's just like that.
Yeah.
It's a pillbox, I think, is what you got. Yeah.
Yep, very much so. And then this section talks about the times the times in your life that you would have been really at risk for health problems. In childbirth, the Native American peoples, because they had no defense system against the various diseases, and then the elderly. But it talks about some of the scary parts of health.
Well, there is. We all know there's scary parts of health. Now, is that the scale that Dr.
Oh
Schiff
yes,
used?
thank you. I forgot to point that out. Yes, that is the actual scale that he
Wow.
used for many, many, many babies.
So think about that. That's probably pre-1900s? Possible? Or no?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I don't think so.
all right.
I think he worked from, if I remember right, about the 1930s to the 1980s.
Yeah, that'd probably be
So,
right.
anyway, and then over here, we've got another piece of interactive.
Uh-oh, I get to play again.
Yes, you do.
So what do I? You've got a headache. What treatment will you get? All right. Right in there.
Oh,
Nothing.
let's try that again. I will hold this down.
The Dakota drank a willow bark tea or ate elderberry fruit. Both are effective remedies. Interestingly, aspirin is the pharmaceutical equivalent of willow bark tea. Ah, look at that.
So even though, there were no drugstores for the Native Americans, they had very effective
They knew exactly what they
remedies for
needed.
Yep.
Ah, that's pretty amazing.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of an overview on what the exhibit is about.
Let's say, here's these books we talked about.
Oh, yes.
So here's, remember she mentioned the Chaska alphabet book? It's a brief introductory, that's the down and dirty as we talked at the Chaska.
And then let's just look inside real quick. You can see that it is very photo heavy and just a lot of really good information on various parts of Chaska.
One of these home, I should sit down and look at it. That's my problem, I don't. And then is this?
That's the old, this is the first two that were combined.
So again,
into
these
one.
are the first two books that we talked are combined to one, and with the index that everyone has talked about how valuable the index is. So these books are available still for sale, correct?
Yes. Mhm. And then the new book, when it comes out, which should be the very end of this year or early January.
Okay.
We are on schedule for that.
Could be a
at this
Christmas
point.
present, might be a little
Absolutely.
late, but could be a Christmas
Well,
present.
you can pre-order it
Yep.
now and we can send a certificate to the
There you go.
recipient or give you a certificate for the recipient to show that this is going to be ready for you.
That'd be cool. You should make something. That'd be cool to have that because people then could put it in a little box and.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that book will look very similar to this, except it's going to say 1950 to 2000, and Levon, unfortunately, is no longer with
Right.
us, so she will not be writing it.
Yeah. And then this is another one that they have a view from the bench of City Square by Jim Faber. Jim Faber was another real big gentleman on history and wrote a lot of things and a lot of columns in the paper.
Yes.
So interesting gentleman.
But yeah, you had mentioned before Tracy Swanson, and she has been so wonderful. She had huge shoes to fill because she has done so much here.
That's
but she's also very willing to act as a confidant and an advisor, and I thoroughly appreciate that.
and that's and we talked about it a little bit earlier, but it's just that she has such a wealth of knowledge, and
Yes.
and she's usually really good to share, and that's why I'm really happy that we're getting as much information as possible
Yes.
from her, as you know, to keep creating these different volumes of the Chaska history. So pretty cool.
Oh, one other thing. When the new books come out, whether you pre-order or actually order them or come pick them up, you will be given a free 1-year membership to the Chaska Historical Society.
Well,
And what that allows you to do also is access the Carver County Historical Society records and such.
Oh,
So it's a real bonus, 1 free year for each history book that you purchase.
awesome.
Each new history book, I better clarify that.
Is there any last thing you want to show us before? Otherwise, we can wrap this. Whatever. It's kind of, this is your time to make sure everybody sees what's here.
Well, I guess if I were to say anything else, it would be that we are always ready for, enthusiastic, positive volunteers who are people who are willing to volunteer and help continue to record Chaska's wonderful history.
Yeah, and that's so important, and I know that a lot of the folks that are doing this now have been around here for a long time, so it's nice to get some younger folks in there. And I think that we're seeing people retired earlier, and I think looking for things to do. We have that huge senior complex midway up the hill. I think that's a good group to tap. And actually, I have someone that's kind of big in that. I should kind of throw that out there. They're probably not Chaska people, but they can still help research and things like that. You don't have to always be a Chaska person.
No.
It's about the ability to do some research or write stuff out and sometimes just helping here, manning the store.
Yes.
And
yes.
that's always important, because like back here, Kevin, if you want to come around here, this is the table where they lay out all of their stuff that they, when they're working on things, and you can see sometimes there's probably groups of people there discussing whatever it is that they have in front of them. But one last thing, if somebody had anything from Chaska history, do you still take items like that? Can you bring them in? I mean, I know you can't take everything, and maybe you already have it, but if people have something that really is historic to Chaska, at least come down here before you do something with it and talk to the folks here to see if it's something that they'd like to add to their collection. I think that's so important. The only way that this history can keep moving forward is that people keep bringing stuff forward, and it can't always be the same people. We need new people. So,
Well, Mark, you're right in that we are still taking things, but as you say, we have to be very selective. And I hate to say that, but we have a limited amount of space.
Yep.
At the same time, yes, I too would encourage people to bring things down that you feel have a real strong Chaska connection. We generally don't take antiques unless those antiques are of a strong part of Chaska.
Yep.
If it's something that you picked up at a sale somewhere along the line, it's not going to work. We just don't have room for those sorts of things.
Right.
At the same time, we love, especially old photographs.
Yep.
There are so many people interested in house histories and such. And so if you have old photographs that have pictures of streets in Chaska over time, people want to know what their house looked like in 1920, in 1960, in, you know, that sort of thing. So yeah, please keep those things in mind.
And it's cool. And on the backside over here is all of the old Chaska Herald newspapers from, I don't know, the oldest I'm seeing is 1931, but they could be.
We have
or is
them.
there some on the other side too?
Yeah, we actually upstairs we have them from 1862.
Oh wow! So from the very beginning.
Yep, to 2023, and we have the Herald reports in the newspaper. Those Herald reports are little quips that one of our volunteers, Rick Engelhardt,
Rick does that. Yeah.
He goes through these old newspapers, and he finds those little snippets that we put out there. All of those actually did occur in Chaska, in the Chaska Herald.
Yep. I love reading those. They're always fun to read. So.
Yeah.
All right, Lisa, thank you so much for the tour and joining me on a little driving tour and getting to know part of your family history. So thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure and it's so much fun. Please come down and see the Chaska History Center. There's a lot here. Become a member. Buy a book. They're here. And what are your hours, quickly?
Our hours are Tuesdays and Fridays 1 to 4, but when the books arrive, we will be having extended hours. And if you pre-order, we'll let you know when those extended hours are on a personalized postcard just for you.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's awesome.